Thanks for checking out SYMFONI on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. President.
Present an address. Mr. President, sir, by this special audience you've granted us on this special courtesy call, you have equally shown positive disposition to peaceful dialogue, negotiations, constructive engagement as best options to address the worries and concerns of Nigerians. It's instructive to inform, sir, that Ijaws, with a population of over 27 million people, are the predominant ethnic nationality in the oil-rich Niger Delta. We are also the fourth largest ethnic group in Nigeria. And promoting and protecting the unity and solidarity of this country, particularly during the Nigerian Civil War, are properly documented, and we thought we should also state that they should not be undermined. Since colonial times, sir, our resources from palm and abundant aquatic and maritime resources, as owners of the major seaports in the country, are worthy of note. Since oil was discovered, exploited in commercial quantities from Nigeria's #1 oil well located at Loibri in Bayelsa State, the Ijaws have remained the main producers of oil and gas that has become the mainstay of the Nigerian economy and its sustainable development. His Excellency, I also want to mention that any state that bears oil, that is called oil bearing, has Ijaws. In those states, and most of the oil wells in Akwa Ibom, in Bayelsa, in Rivers, are all exploited from Ijaw territory. President, sir, in the same manner that you directed the relocation of the head office of the Department of Petroleum Resources from Lagos to Abuja, we seek your help to mandate the Minister of Petroleum Resources, our brother here, to direct the relocation of all, for the headquarters of all oil companies to their operational bases in Ijaw land and the Niger Delta region. So the pathetic thing is that these people, beyond flying in to tap our resources and flying back to other parts of the country that I don't want to mention, they pay taxes, their workers pay taxes in those places. They even operate in houseboats. So after an oil company has stayed in the place for about 6 months, you don't have any trace because there are no fiscal structures. We believe that if the oil companies are made to return to their operational base, the economy of those places will boom. If Mobil goes back to Akwa Ibom, there will be a revamp of the economy. Secondly, sir, we are also praying that you revamp the major ports of Onne, Warri, Port Harcourt, Bonny, and this will bring about accelerated economic growth and reduce joblessness, youth criminality, and contribute to national unity and stability. Mr. President, sir, we also want to call on you to fulfill your promise to the Ijaws and the Niger Delta people and the ownership of modular refineries as replacement for the local ancillaries. Sir, we also want to draw attention to the East-West Road project that serves as the only link across the Niger Delta and conveys petroleum products from its main sources to other parts of the country, whose construction have lingered for 15 years. Mr. President, sir, we ask that you devote special funds and attention, like we find and still, and as you do, or you did, sorry, and still doing with your railway projects, the second Niger Delta Bridge, the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, knowing that all these projects are funded from the oil and gas resources derived from our environment. We also want to state very clearly, Mr. President, that the Ijaws don't have a secessionist agenda. We believe a united nation. We believe this country, no matter how serious the problems are, it will only take human beings to fix them. And we're also making this abundantly clear to as many persons with secessional agenda, not to include any part of Ijaw land in such programs. We shall not secede to any nation. We shall not allow any part of our territory to be carved into any nation. We shall remain one Nigeria. Mr. President, sir, while appreciating you for this audience and your notable interventions, we will appreciate if you keep these lines of strategic engagement that will foster a greater and better Nigeria and the Nigerian nation. I want to thank you.
Labour President and members, Honorable Minister of Niger Delta, I warmly welcome all the elders of the Niger Delta, and particularly the National Executive of the Ijaw National Congress under the leadership of Professor Benjamin Okaba. I thank you for paying this courtesy visit, not too long after our election in April and the swearing in last May. I also want to congratulate you all for your election and to add that a lot of responsibility is placed on your shoulders, especially coming from the fact that the Ijaw National Congress was almost without leadership for some time. As a symbol of the collective voice of the Ijaw people, which is one of the Nigeria's main ethnic groups, the existence of a focused and people-oriented leadership would go a long way in articulating the demands of the Ijaw people and making sure these demands are made part of national discourse. I particularly note your 10-point demand to the federal government in your inaugural speech, and I assure you that this administration is promptly addressing them. I am equally concerned about the rate of environmental degradation in the Niger Delta, and you are aware the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project has started work with remediation efforts in Ogoni land, and I have directed the Minister of Environment to ensure that the projects are implemented with a high percentage of local content and the inclusion of the surrounding communities. Similarly, the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, under the same Ministry of Environment, is working to make sure that oil spills are reduced and new ones prevented. As you are also aware, all the responsible agencies of government have been directed to ensure that they enforce compliance by the international oil companies to international best practices. In addressing your call for immediate restructuring, the National Assembly, whose responsibility it is to ensure that our Constitution responds to the call for a restructured Nigeria, has already concluded regional consultations, and as soon as they finalize the process, necessary action would not be delayed on my part. In the same vein, you are called for creation of 2 additional states and more local government areas for the Ijaw people is a legislative matter which should naturally be handled by the National Assembly and seeking concurrence at the state levels. I completely agree with you with your call to allocate operational licenses for marginal fields to Ijaw people. However, like you know, the process of granting licenses is guided by laid down rules and regulations, most of which even favor local content and local contractors. I see no reason why they should not be granted such licenses if they qualify. On the issue of fair and balanced appointment to reflect federal character principles, I reaffirm that this has always been my focus and will continue to be, because I have always seen Nigeria as a country where everyone should be given equal opportunities. A contentious issue that has been a subject of discourse among the Ijaw people of recent has been the need for the Niger Delta Development Commission to live up to its billing by delivering the required succor to the people of the region. Based on the mismanagement that had previously been bedeviled the NDDC, a forensic audit was set up and the result is expected by the end of July 2021. I want to assure you that as soon as the forensic audit report is submitted and accepted, the NDDC board would be inaugurated. However, I would like to implore you that the Ijaw National Congress should play a more active role in making sure that the mismanagement that occurred in the past is not repeated. I am particularly happy to note your call for promoting ownership of modular refineries by the Ijaw people, and I will urge you to interface with your sons who are involved in the processes of establishing these refineries, especially the Honorable Minister of State Petroleum Resources, to actualize the quest. Like you well know, completion of the East-West Road is top on my infrastructure agenda, and I will look to its speedy conclusion. Again, the occasional disturbance by youth in some communities along the route to construction work will require your close attention and guidance. Furthermore, we have made considerable progress with the construction of the Ogoni to Port Harcourt Bridge. I am very happy with the recent affirmation of your belief in a united Nigeria. And while I thank you for standing with me, I will also implore you to use your leverage in making sure that we keep working together to keep this country a united, indivisible entity so that we can tackle our problems together and overcome our challenges together. I would like now to commend Professor Okaba for your emphasis on supporting the fight against insecurity by developing internal control mechanisms as well as working with other institutions in the country to address our current security challenges. While I thank you once more for this visit, and I will continue to count on your support as we work towards resolving our current challenges. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.